He said, "You're going to help me do this, or I'm going to kill you and your family."
Believe I'm doing this, but once you do it, you're like, oh my God, it's so fun.
Interviewing a convicted school shooter might be one of the most bone-chilling experiences anyone could have. But these conversations give us a haunting glimpse into the dark and evil minds of these kids, making us question what exactly drove them to commit such a tragedy. Number 10. Brenda Spencer.
Well, it's not something that you just do and don't think about. You think about it constantly. You know, you're the cause of people's dying.
January 29, 1979, Grover Cleveland Elementary School in San Diego, California witnessed an outrageous school shooting that claimed the lives of the principal and a custodian, while 8 children and a police officer named Robert Robb were also injured. The shooter was a 16-year-old girl named Brenda Spencer. Brenda was born and raised in a house right across the street from that school. After her parents' divorce, she was left to live in poverty with her deadbeat father, Wallace Spencer. They both slept on a single mattress in a one-room apartment filled with empty bottles of alcohol. Her father's lifestyle exposed Brenda to drugs and alcohol at a young age. And despite knowing that she was suicidal, he bought her a gun for Christmas with 500 rounds of ammunition, the same gun she would eventually use to carry out the shooting. Spencer underwent a mental evaluation and was advised to check into a mental facility for her depression. However, her father refused to give that permission. He supposedly got her this gun so she would kill herself, but in January of next year, she used it on the school instead.
Because all that morning I had been drinking and taking the pills with the whiskey and stuff.
On that Monday morning, Spencer loaded the Ruger semi-auto .22 caliber rifle and began shooting from her house. She shot at children waiting for the 53-year-old principal, Burton Ragg, who was supposed to open the gates to Grover Cleveland Elementary students. She injured 8 children, beginning with Cam Miller, since he was wearing Spencer's favorite color, blue. Spencer shot and killed Ragg as he and teacher Daryl Barnes tried to help other children. She also killed 56-year-old custodian Mike Sucher as he tried to pull a student to safety. A 28-year-old police officer, Robert Robb, had responded to a call for assistance during the incident, where he was wounded in the neck as he arrived. After firing 36 shots, Spencer barricaded herself inside her house for several hours. While there, she was on the phone with a reporter from the San Diego Union Tribune, who had been randomly calling telephone numbers in the neighborhood. Spencer told the reporter she had shot at children and adults. In her words, she said,
"I don't like Mondays. This livens up the day."
For hours, the police tried negotiating with her to leave the house unarmed, but she refused. Eventually, she did and was immediately arrested. She was charged as an adult and pleaded guilty to 2 counts of murder and assault with a deadly weapon. She refused to have a trial and was sentenced to 25 years to life. During the interview with CBS News, she said she was intoxicated for a whole week leading up to that shooting and doesn't have a vivid memory of what exactly happened that day. She has appealed to be granted parole on numerous occasions, but has been denied. And while she remains imprisoned at the California Institution for Women in Chino, the Grover Cleveland Elementary School was closed in 1983, along with dozens of schools around that area. While we can't take away what she did, we can't help but ask why her dad got her that gun in the first place.
I hope that they're all doing okay, that they're all, you know, that I haven't scarred them for life, that I haven't done any permanent damage, you know, psychologically and stuff to them.
Number 9. Evan Ramsey.
That was when the principal came out of the office, and I pointed the gun. I pointed and shot at him. And
February 19th, 1997, the Bethel Regional High School in Bethel, Alaska, witnessed a school shooting. The perpetrator was a 16-year-old student named Evan Ramsey. Now, Ramsey was born on February 8th, 1981, to Don and Carol Ramsey. When he was 5 years old, his father was imprisoned for 10 years after a police standoff, and his mother became an alcoholic. The family then relocated to the Anchorage area after their house was set on fire. 2 years later, Ramsey and his two brothers were taken away from their mom and put into foster care.
I've been punished for trying to stand up for William because our foster brother, he picked on William and I.
He lived in 11 different foster homes in just 3 years, and at some point he was separated from his brothers. He was abused both physically and sexually by his different foster parents and foster siblings. At school, he was bullied, humiliated, and laughed at for his outfits. In one word, Ramsey was broken, and that was the moment he conceived the idea to carry out the shooting.
Tired of being picked on and to stand up for myself, decided that I was going to take the shotgun to school.
Weeks before the shooting, about 15 students knew of Ramsey's intentions, and 2 actually assisted him. One student named James Randall taught him how to load and fire a shotgun, while the other, Matthew Charles, told him about the popularity he would get if he did. The remaining students even brought cameras to school that day because, for some reason, they felt Ramsey shooting up the school would be fun. On the day of the shooting, Ramsey armed himself with a Mossberg 500 12-gauge shotgun and arrived at school by bus. Immediately entering the students' common area, he brought out that gun and shot a student named Josh Palacios in the abdomen. Then he shot at 2 other students, before shooting the principal twice and killing him on the spot. At this point, Ramsey had lost control. He wanted to bring the gun to school for fun, and seeing people die around him with blood all over the floor made Ramsey realize he was making a big mistake. So he ran away from that common area toward the student lockers, and by accident he shot at those lockers. This made a police officer entering the school after a 911 call shoot back at Ramsey.
Yelled, "I don't want to die," and I threw the shotgun down, and then the police apprehended me.
Knowing he didn't want to die, Ramsey later laid the shotgun on the ground and surrendered without resisting. December 2nd, 1998, Ramsey was trialed as an adult and found guilty of 2 counts of first-degree murder, 3 counts of first-degree attempted murder, and 15 counts of third-degree assault. He was initially sentenced to 210 years in prison, but after an appeal it was reduced to 2 99-year prison sentences. Evan Ramsey will be eligible for parole in 2066, when he's 85 years old.
What do you think would have happened if you couldn't have so easily accessed a gun?
If I didn't have access to a gun, I wouldn't be doing the prison sentence that I am now.
Number 8. Ethan Crumbley. November 30th, 2021. Oxford High School in Michigan witnessed a mass shooting that killed 4 and injured more. The perpetrator was 15-year-old Ethan Crumbley, but unlike other student shooters so far, this one comes with a twist. Ethan Crumbley was born in Atlantic Beach, Florida, on April 28, 2006. His parents, Jennifer and James Crumbley, had past criminal records for DUI and check fraud. However, it was when the family moved to Issaquah, Washington, that Ethan carved his own path to becoming a criminal. At their new home, Ethan's parents often left him alone, while he played video games and watched horror movies. Over time, these became his habits, and he developed an obsession for demons. Over the years, Ethan got depressed and began sending texts to his mother about his state of mind and how he sees demons. But as you might have guessed, his mother didn't pay any attention. To make matters worse, his father had purchased a 9mm Sauer SP-22 semi-automatic handgun a few days before the shooting. That was the point where the voices in his head took over and turned him into a bloodthirsty demon.
Is it true that when you exited the bathroom, you began shooting at students and staff members of the Oxford High School? Yes.
The day before the shooting, Ethan had reported himself to the school's officials about his behavior, and nothing was done about it for some reason. The morning of the shooting, a teacher found a violent drawing on Crumbley's desk. It was a drawing of a semi-automatic handgun, pointing at the words,
"The thoughts won't stop me. Help me."
And to the right of it,
"The world is dead."
The teacher took a photo of that drawing and reported Crumbley. Keep in mind that at this point, Crumbley already had the gun in school. However, it was hidden in the backpack. His parents eventually came to the school that same day after he was reported to the guidance counselor for this bizarre drawing. The counselor advised they take their son home for proper counseling, but they resisted that idea and instead asked that he might return to the class. That, my friends, was the moment the school's officials had messed up royally, because a couple hours later, Ethan went into the restroom, took out that gun from his backpack, and began shooting. He started firing in the hallway at students during passing time when hundreds of them were moving around. He even walked into the classrooms and shot at students unable to hide. In the end, he murdered 4 of them and injured 7 more, including a teacher. He was later disarmed and arrested, but the crazy twist is that the cops found a text on his phone from his mom. It read,
"Ethan, don't do it."
And 10 minutes after she texted, his father reported the gun missing to the police. His parents are now being charged with 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter for their failure to secure the gun Ethan used in the shooting. Crumbley was charged as an adult for 24 crimes, including murder and terrorism. The only interview with Ethan out there resulted in this. He pled guilty to all charges and will receive his sentence on September 29th, 2023.
One who's saying, "God, why didn't you stop it?" And that's exactly how psychosis works.
Number 7. Aiden Fui.
Is that the name of this girl?
Be honest as you can to
Yes.
Imagine what it would feel like as a parent, sitting in front of your kid as he tells you he kissed a fellow student before going ahead to stab her 114 times. That's very disturbing, but also the reality of Aiden Fui's parents, who interrogated him after he was arrested for the murder of high school cheerleader Tristan Bailey. And although Aiden isn't particularly a school shooter, his act against a fellow student earned him a spot on this list. May 9th, 2021. Tristan Bailey's lifeless body was discovered shortly after her family reported her missing. Her untimely demise was shocking, but what truly captured everyone's attention was the dehumanizing manner in which Fui treated her leading up to her death. Tristan Bailey was one of 5 children born to Stacy and Forrest Bailey, residing in Durbin Crossing in northeast St. Johns County. She was a student and a cheerleader at Patriot Oaks Academy, the same school attended by Aiden Fui. While they didn't hang out together, Bailey did unfortunately fall victim to Fui's disturbing fixation. During the court proceedings, Aiden's girlfriend, whose identity remained concealed for her safety, testified to Fui's disturbing obsession with violence. She revealed that he frequently discussed the idea of taking lives and confided in her about his plans to murder someone by luring him into the woods and stabbing him just a month before Bailey's tragic death.
He would take out his knife and simulate stabbing me with it. Aiden would even draw graphic pictures depicting mutilated bodies. He claimed to hear voices when angered and would make threats to end people's lives. He knew something was seriously wrong with him and wanted to seek help.
Regrettably, before Aiden could get the help he needed, the voices in his head pushed him down this irreversible path. On that said day, Aiden asked for Tristan Bailey's phone number from one of his friends. After obtaining it, he persuaded her to meet him at a friend's house. Surveillance footage later would reveal the two walking down the street where her life would ultimately end. An hour and 45 minutes later, the same footage showed Fui returning alone, carrying his shoes. Following her parents' report of her disappearance, Tristan's lifeless body was discovered, bearing a harrowing 114 stab wounds, with 45 of them showing her valiant struggle defending herself. One couldn't possibly imagine the anguish she must have endured as she fought for survival.
About now, we have people on the phone and house, not in the car. Because that's Snapchat, it's all over the internet and social media.
During the search for the missing Bailey, an investigator stumbled upon a Snapchat message from Fui, depicting him in the backseat of a patrol car, taking a selfie and flashing a peace sign. The message read,
"Hey guys, has anyone seen Tristan lately?"
This cast Aiden as the primary suspect in her murder. Subsequently, he was arrested on a second-degree murder charge, as the weapon used was traced back to him, and the clothing he wore that fateful day bore her DNA evidence. Number 6. Adam Lanza.
To the driver's door, opened it, and the cop shot him. He fled back into the house, where he went to his playroom and bled to death.
That was Adam Lanza, narrating his planned school shooting 1 year before it actually happened. December 14th, 2012, Sandy Hook Elementary School in Newtown, Connecticut, witnessed a mass shooting that resulted in the death of 26 people. 20 of the victims were children, and the other 6 were adult staff members. The perpetrator was a 20-year-old boy named Adam Lanza. Now, Adam lived in Newtown with his mother, Nancy Lanza. From a young age, Adam was exposed to a lot of firearms, due to the fact that his mom was a gun enthusiast who had a lot of firearms around the house. However, this wasn't the main reason why Adam did what he did. In school, he was frequently struck with anxiety. He hated the crowdedness of the classroom, and at first it seemed like a minor problem, but over time, it became worse. This made his parents take him out of that place to homeschool him. However, during the time he was still in high school, Adam was diagnosed with a lot of mental illnesses, including schizophrenia, obsessive-compulsive disorder, and neurodevelopmental disorder. This made Adam lock himself up every single time. He never came out. All he did was play shooting games, as well as watch a lot of school shootings. Fast forward a couple years later, and Adam would do one of the worst things you could imagine. December 11th, 2011. Adam called up university radio station Anarchy Radio and compared an animal named Travis the chimp to a teenage mall shooter. It was weird, but something he said that really got everyone talking was,
if Travis had been some nasty monster all his life, it would have been widely reported. But to the contrary, it seems like everyone who knew him said how shocked they were that he would be so savage because they knew him as a sweet child. And there were 2 isolated incidents early in his life when he acted aggressively. He didn't act really any differently than a human child would.
Because every newborn child, human child, is born in a chimp-like state, and civilization is only sustained by conditioning them for years on end, so that they'll accept it for what it is.
It was quite the disturbing 7-minute call. But what's more disturbing was Adam's reaction after finding out his mother was planning on relocating out of Newtown. Remember, we said Adam had severe anxiety and he was mentally unstable, so the thought of leaving his comfort zone and meeting new people made him go crazy, and ultimately led to the school shooting. December 12th, 2014, Adam Lanza would shoot and kill his mother, Nancy Lanza, with a .22 cal Savage Mark II rifle at their Newtown home. She was still in bed with her pajamas on when he stormed in and brutally shot her 4 times in the head. He would then steal her car and drive to Sandy Hook Elementary School, where he would go through staff offices and classrooms, killing 26 people in total. The tipping point of this story is Adam Lanza eventually shot himself in the head, barely 5 minutes after carrying out the shooting. Everything took place in just 1 hour. So, what happened to Adam? Well, according to a psychologist,
his deteriorating and severe internalized mental health problems were combined with an atypical preoccupation with violence. Combined with an access to deadly weapons, this proved a recipe for mass murder.
Number 5. Ashton Rigs and Gavin Smith.
I shot and then started running back, and then as I was running back, Ashton and Zach were running down the road. I was like, just go back to the house, just go back to the house.
That was Gavin Smith ratting out his friend Ashton Rigs during his police interrogation for the murder of West Nassau High School football star Trenton Fort. February 24th, 2020, Fort and other students were in a car waiting for Riggs and Smith so they could complete a drug deal. When they showed up, a confrontation occurred between the 3 boys, leading Riggs to allegedly shoot Fort. Immediately after this happened, the driver sped off with Ford inside while eyewitnesses called 911. Eventually, Riggs was found at a McDonald's outlet within the area, while Gavin Smith was also arrested that day. In the police interrogation, Smith ratted Riggs out, claiming he was the one who fired the shot. Riggs and Smith were first trialed as juveniles, but the county sheriff would upgrade those charges after their arrest. They remain incarcerated. Number 4. Aaron Ibara.
guy shot at. I was so pissed at him because he didn't take me seriously. I hate it when people disrespect me. Couldn't help myself. It was just getting too exciting.
That interrogation with the cops was 26-year-old Aaron Ibara on the 2014 Seattle Pacific University shooting that killed 1 and injured 2. June 5th, 2014. Aaron entered the Seattle Pacific University wearing a black hooded sweatshirt, skater sneakers, and jeans. He walked into the foyer of Otto Miller Hall, pulled out his murder weapon, and brutally shot 3 people. He fired a 4th round, but his gun got jammed, and as he tried reloading, he was tackled and disarmed by school safety monitor John Mays, who doused Ibara with pepper spray and pinned him to the ground. One of the victims, 19-year-old Paul Lee, was taken into critical condition to a medical center, where he was pronounced dead. Another, 20-year-old Sarah Williams, had to go through a 5-hour immediate surgery, while the third victim, 24-year-old Thomas Fowler Jr., survived the shot.
Someone threw off a routine or someone took something from me that I needed. There had to be a price to pay.
Yeah, Aaron was mentally unstable, but no one would have easily noticed this. He had a few minor encounters with police in the past, for drunk driving and operating a vehicle without insurance, but he had never been arrested for anything violent. Prior to the day of the shooting, Aaron had gotten a new job at a convenience store, where he was to bag groceries and clean up the store. He had a minor reading ability, so it was a pretty good job for him. He even worked extra hours so he could make ends meet. In his free time, he would write screenplays and novels, and was a normal, happy guy, until his life became a pile of misfortunes and evil.
Feelings made me go from Christianity to admiring sadism. And that's when the hate started feeling really good, because I felt that God betrayed me.
In the interrogation, he revealed a lot of gruesome and disturbing details about how his parents neglected him as a child, and how over time his evil side got the better of him. What he did at the university was just appalling and really unnecessary. According to one eyewitness, she said,
"I heard a loud bang. At first I thought it was a chemistry project. My teacher thought that too. Then I put my head to the door and I heard shouting. I decided that was a gunshot. We need to lock down."
Aaron was finally charged and sentenced to 112 years in prison back in February 2017. His final words in court were,
"I've realized I've damaged more than just innocent people. I damaged the community and even the world. I've hurt a lot of people's emotions. I wish I could take that away, but I can't. I'm sorry to the world."
Number 3. TJ Lane.
I had gotten a knife in my book bag, sat down at the cafeteria table, and fired first shot through the book bag.
February 27th, 2012. 6 students were shot at Chardon High School in Chardon, Ohio, resulting in 3 deaths. The perpetrator of the attack was 17-year-old TJ Lane. You remember the clip at the beginning of the kid flipping his middle finger? Yeah, that's the same guy. But before TJ became unremorseful for his crimes, he actually felt sorry at some point, or so he appeared to be. Thomas Michael TJ Lane was born on September 19, 1994. He was a sophomore taking classes at Lake Academy, an alternative school in Ohio. This was kind of a special school for kids with special needs. However, some students there say TJ had beef with one of his classmates named King. Apparently, King had been threatening to beat TJ up, encouraging TJ to lift weights and prepare for that fight. So maybe King was the reason Lane brought a gun to school, we don't know, but what we do know is that on the morning of February 27th, students gathered at Chardon's High School cafeteria. TJ brutally shot King with a .22 cal handgun concealed in his backpack. He then shot at 5 other students running out of the school. According to his interview, TJ said he ran out of bullets, and instead of replacing that cartridge, he just gave up and waited for the police to come get him. 3 of the 6 students he shot at died within the next few days, including his supposed rival, Russell King Jr.
I thought it was forced, but forced from who? Nobody really forced me to, so I don't know.
He knew he made a big mistake, and he was probably remorseful at the moment, but everything would change a few weeks later. March 1st, 2012. Lane was officially charged as an adult with 3 counts of aggravated murder, 2 counts of aggravated attempted murder, and 1 count of felonious assault. And that was the moment he stopped playing Mr. Nice Guy.
As soon as TJ Lane walked in, he was executing his plan, taking off his button-down shirt to reveal this, a white t-shirt with the word killer scribbled on it.
During his sentencing, TJ removed his dress shirt to reveal a white t-shirt that had the word killer handwritten across the front. He was given 3 consecutive life sentences without parole, but he didn't seem to be bothered. After the sentencing, he did one thing that made him go viral on social media.
Saying pull the trigger, the killer's done, masturbates to memory of you.
And while that was pretty stupid to do, TJ paid for it, and so did his parents. Firstly, the parents of the deceased students filed a wrongful death suit against TJ Lane's family, making them pay $2.7 million in the settlement. Then on September 11, 2014, Lane escaped from the Allen Correctional Institution in Lima, Ohio, along with 2 other older inmates. But he was caught 24 hours later and transferred to a U.S. Supermax prison where he was locked up in solitary confinement for 23 hours a day.
Well, that's why I don't know for sure if I've even hit anybody, because I just wanted to get out of there. And I just pulled the trigger as many times as possible and ran.
Now, he's locked up in another Supermax prison, one similar to the dreaded ADX Florence.
What do you think's going to happen to you, TJ?
I have no idea.
Number 2. Andrew Golden.
What about the others that you killed? Do you know how many you killed?
No, sir.
That right there's Andrew Golden, narrating the mass shooting he and Mitchell Johnson perpetuated at Westside Middle School back in 1998. The story gets darker when you consider the fact that Andrew was only 11 years old at the time, while his acquaintance Mitchell was just 13. Andrew was born on May 25, 1986, in Jonesboro, Arkansas, to Jacqueline and Dennis Golden. He came from a stable household and had a good relationship with both his parents. However, when he got into middle school, he met Mitchell Johnson.
Tell me when and where you went to get the gun.
I went to his house.
Same day of the test?
Earlier that morning, probably.
They hung out a lot, but weren't really close friends. Some students say they were known bullies, and Mitchell always wanted to be part of the Bloods. Mitchell threatened to kill his ex-girlfriend for breaking up with him, had a weird fascination with guns, engaged in a lot of fistfights, and has said a lot of profanity in class. On the other hand, little old Andrew was following in his footsteps and soon became Mitchell's puppet. 3 months before the shooting, a student reported to the counselor that Andrew had stated he intended to shoot some people at school. When Golden was called to the office, he stated that he had a nightmare in which he followed through and then was killed. The counselor didn't really think anything of it, and maybe that's a decision he'll forever live to regret.
He said, "You're going to help me do this, or I'm going to kill you and your family."
March 23, 1998. The night before the shooting, Andrew Golden assisted Johnson in loading his mother's Dodge Caravan with camping supplies, snack foods, 9 weapons, and 2,000 rounds of ammunition. They allegedly stole the supplies from Andrew's grandfather's house. In his statement, Andrew claimed Mitchell forced him to steal the supplies from his granddad. If not, he was going to kill his dad.
And you're going to tell us you really believed Mitchell Johnson, 13-year-old kid, was going to kill your daddy with a little pocket knife?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
March 24, 1998. The boys rode in the van to Westside Middle School, arriving late after deliberately missing their bus. Andrew Golden then pulled the fire alarm, making all the teachers and students run out.
And then he told me, he said, "Go inside and pull the fire alarm and then come back out. If you don't, I'm going to come in there and find you and kill you."
Once they were out, the boys had stationed their weapons in the woods close by and opened fire. They killed 4 students, 1 teacher, and injured 10 others. After the shooting, they tried running away but were caught by police before they made it to the van. Now, this is where the real shocker comes in. Due to their age, they were tried as juveniles and were found guilty of 5 counts of murder. They were sentenced to confinement until they reached the age of 21, which is the max sentence available under Arkansas law. Although they become the youngest people ever charged with murder in the United States, a lot of outsiders were outraged by their minimal punishment. These boys premeditated an entire shooting massacre and killed 5 innocent people, leaving 10 others with life-altering injuries. Yet they were released on their 21st birthdays. It really made people question how lenient the legal system was with minors. July 17, 2019, after living a life in hiding, Andrew Golden died in a car crash with his wife and son. And number 1, Nikolas Cruz.
You're talking about demons. What are the demons?
Voices.
Well, tell me about it.
Burn, kill, destroy.
Oh boy, where do I even begin with this one? There are evil people in this world, but only a few can be compared to how evil Nikolas Cruz is. This kid single-handedly shot and killed 17 people at Parkland High School and injured 17 others.
When you say it's a voice, it's you. It's all you. The voice is you as well.
Born on September 24, 1998, Cruz lived with his late mother, Brenda Norma Woodward, who was a felon and drug addict. She died a few years after his birth, making Cruz get adopted by a couple, Roger and Linda Cruz. However, this couple eventually passed away, making Cruz orphaned once again. But in between this timeline, Cruz was going through some troubles of his own. He was transferred between schools 6 times in 3 years in an effort to deal with these problems. In 2014, he was transferred to a school for children with emotional or learning disabilities, but even there, reports say that Cruz threatened to kill other students. February 2017, Cruz legally purchases an AR-15 style semi-auto rifle from a Coral Springs gun store after having passed the required background check. This was one gun added to this already stacked gun collection, which included at least 1 shotgun and several rifles. He also posted gory things on social media, like a Snapchat photo of him cutting himself and a YouTube comment where he claimed he'd become a shooter one day.
This is not who you are. Like, come on. Why'd you do this? Don't even laugh. Do this is...
February 14th, 2018. Cruz turned Valentine's Day into Mass Murder Day by opening fire and killing 17 students and staff at Parkland High School. There are plenty of dreadful details as to how he mercilessly shot at these people, but we're gonna leave that out for this video. He fled that scene on foot by blending in with other students, but was identified and arrested an hour and 20 minutes later.
I know how you grow up. I know that people don't understand you, but I understand you.
November 2nd, 2022. Cruz was officially sentenced to 34 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole, 1 for each of the total number of victims he murdered and wounded.
If children didn't have such easy access to firearms, then yes, these types of crimes would not happen.